Welcome back to Atreyu News. More from Red State Watcher. Breaking. Tom Arnold drops a bombshell on Hillary Clinton, and it's bad. Tom Arnold says Hillary Clinton begged him to release a video on Trump just before the November election. From the Daily Mail. Tom Arnold has claimed he was asked by Hillary Clinton's camp to release a damning video of Donald Trump repeatedly saying the N-word just days before the election. The comedian's explosive claims are set to be heard on Sunday night's episode of Australian TV show I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, on which Arnold is currently starring. 57-year-old last told Kiro radio station he had outtakes to The Apprentice where Trump says every bad thing ever, every offensive racist thing ever. Yeah, right. Somehow I don't believe it though. Now Arnold has claimed just 48 hours before Americans went to the polls last November, he received a call from Democratic candidate Clinton's camp asking him to release the video, the Daily Telegraph reports. I had all the outtakes from Trump saying the N-word on The Apprentice, Arnold told his celebrity co-stars on the reality TV show. She called me 2 days before the election and said, please release that. She told me the weight of the free world is on your shoulders, he said of the alleged discussion with a member of the Clinton's camp. Despite having known President Trump for close to 30 years, Arnold was a staunch opponent of his during the election race. However, he reveals he declined Clinton's offer, fearing he would do more harm than good, and that he didn't think people would care. I'd love to be a hero, but I can't hurt these families, Arnold claims he told Clinton's team. In December last year, Arnold said he would have released a video which is said to include Trump calling his son of a blank before the election, but did not have the approval of the producers who made it and gave it to him. Well, sounds like a bunch of BS to me. One thing's for sure, we actually have that video of Hillary Clinton talking about African Americans in a negative context. Hard to forget. Brilliant Stephen Miller silences the corrupt media. White House policy advisor Stephen Miller, a district judge in Seattle, cannot make immigration law for the United States. White House policy advisor Stephen Miller, a district judge in Seattle, cannot make immigration law for the United States. MTP.
I'm going to ask about what appears to be an immigration enforcement surge that has taken place over the last week. And it goes to the other executive order that had to do with immigration that was signed. How do you define a criminal act by an undocumented immigrant in this country? Is just being undocumented here illegally, is that enough of a criminal act to get you deported under this order?
The order describes a criminal offense, which would typically mean anything from a misdemeanor to a felony. In particular, the emphasis is on crimes that threaten or endanger public safety. But as you well know, you cannot order a federal law enforcement officer in ICE any more than you can in the FBI or the DEA or the Marshal Service to ignore the laws of the United States. It would be highly unethical for me in the White House or anybody else to pick up the phone and call an ICE officer and say, well, when you encounter this particular felon, we'd like you to pretend the law doesn't exist. But I can tell you right now, there are enforcement actions happening all over this country in which gang members, drug dealers, sex offenders are being swept up.
Felons. What about if the only crime they committed was being here illegally? Is that enough to be deported?
Sean, an immigration judge makes those decisions. An ICE officer makes those decisions. I in the White House don't make those decisions.
So you've not told them to prioritize in either direction?
If people don't like the immigration laws of the United States, they can reform them. Our emphasis is on deporting and removing criminal aliens who pose a threat to public safety. And I just want to say this. There's been a lot of coverage in the news about the effects of these enforcement actions on people who are here illegally. And that's an issue people are free to discuss. But what's more important and what should be discussed more is the lives that are being saved, Chuck. The American lives that are being saved because we're taking enforcement action. And when we didn't take those actions in the past, you have families like the Wilkerson family and the Root family and the Mendoza family who lost people they loved because we were more concerned We were more concerned about the effects of enforcement on people here illegally than on the well-being of lawful immigrants and U.S. citizens.
So it sounds to me as if you're saying you did not tell ICE workers who to prioritize.
No, that's not correct. I'm saying that in the White House, it would be improper for me to tell them to disengage from an enforcement action. The president has been clear, unequivocal, and explicit in saying that we're going to focus on removing individuals who pose a threat to public safety, including people who are gang members, who've been charged with criminal offenses, who've been multiple immigration violations, who've been deported and re-entered. I have a question. What would you say, Chuck? What would you say to a family member who lost someone they loved because an illegal immigrant who'd been deported 2 times and had a misdemeanor conviction was allowed to come back into the country a 3rd time because that wasn't deemed a priority, and they lost someone they loved? Would you say, well, I'm sorry, it didn't meet our priority scale. We're going to focus on public safety and saving American lives, and we will not apologize for that.
Awesome. Stephen Miller. I just discovered him yesterday. Seems like a strong voice in the White House, though. The U.S. Navy is in trouble. U.S. Navy is barely operational and needs funds to fix their F-18s. RT reported nearly 2/3 of the U.S. Navy's F-18 strike fighters cannot fly, most because there isn't enough money to fix them. Defense News reported, adding the fleet has been grounded because jets undergoing planned maintenance are awaiting spare parts. See, this is what our enemy wants. Just like at the beginning of World War II, America's Navy and military had been depleted to the point where it was like laughable, and it was like it wasn't even close to being the strongest in the world at the time. Completely depleted, and now here we are again when the balance of power in the world is about to shift, and here we are again with America having a depleted military. People that say history does not repeat itself have not looked far back enough. Mexico has accepted its fate. Daily Caller reported, when the candidate Donald Trump was promising a border wall, then Mexican Foreign Minister Claudia Ruiz, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, called it impractical and wrong. Ruiz is no longer Mexico's foreign minister, and the new man in the role is Louis, I'll just call him Louis Vid, has come to accept Trump's border wall. It is impossible to think of a 2,000-mile border being walled off and trade between our 2 countries stopped, Ruiz said last February. It is impractical, inefficient, wrong, and frankly, it is not an intelligent thing to do. Yeah, intelligent for who? For Mexico? Probably not. I can't really see Mexico benefiting from this. However, it makes no difference, for Mexico was the perpetrator, and when people get what they deserve, is that necessarily a bad thing? Some would call it karma. Foreign Minister Vid said in an appearance on MSNBC Thursday that it's very clear from the president himself that the wall is going to be built. You're damn right it's going to be built. With American hands. The Mexican foreign minister added that he acknowledges that the U.S. as a sovereign nation, like any other sovereign nation, has a right to protect its borders the way the country best thinks it. Vig said that Mexico doesn't like the idea of a border wall, but it's not for us to decide. You're damn right it's not. So just sit down, shut up, and watch the empire get rebuilt.